Today, we complete our series on owning your own brokerage with one of the most important topics, creating your exit strategy.
Yeah, sit back, learn about that today on the Wandering But Not Lost podcast.
You've reached the WB&L Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. And now your hosts, Jan O'Brien and Matt Emerson.
Well, welcome everyone to the WB&L Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. This is episode 248. You can find all of those show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. Jan O'Brien, we are concluding this series of, six-part series from the 10 things you need to know to get your business up and running, all the way here to where we are in exit strategy. And in between, we've covered retention and recruiting and systems and operations and just everything you really need to know. You can find all of those show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. You go to any one of the episodes in the series, and there'll be links to all the other episodes. So you cannot get lost in that. And then, of course, we started off with the pros and cons, which is actually, almost as important as this last episode, right? Like, should you even do it in the first place? Right?
It's a total tie-in because we all need an exit strategy, whether we're a solopreneur, single agent, maybe with an assistant, to a team, to owning your own brokerage. Having an exit strategy, you're not going to do this forever and ever, I would hope, that you do have a plan. And so we're going to cover the basic ideas and strategies that we have, which we actually have in our real estate team builder program. A lot of the concepts were covered on today's episode. And we will, when we talk brokerage or team or we're going to use it interchangeably, because what we talk about today could help everybody for what you're going to do down the road to basically retire and maybe earn additional income because of that. Because
and that's the beauty, right? That a little more passive income, maybe.
Yeah, that's my game plan. I'll share with you what my ultimate goal is, and because I'm coming into the last, I have basically got to get to that magic number 67. So got a good 6 years left of creating and setting things in place so I can kind of have a different look to my exit strategy. So owning your own brokerage, part 6, and Matt just said, and I think it's so amazing. And actually, we've had a couple of our broker owners even give some of this insight that you really have to decide whether or not, just to go back for a step, is part of why we did this series is a lot of people jump in and just like building a team, they'll say, I'm going to own my own company, and they don't even really get all the ins and outs and the headaches that it can be. It can be very rewarding also, but you have to really know your why behind all that. So today with exit strategy, you really have to begin with the end in mind. And even if back in the first episode or pros and cons, it's like, what is your goal? Where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself in a retirement sort of setting? That could be 20, 30 years from now. It could be 5 or 6 years from now. So beginning with the end in mind, it's never too late. I just mentioned 6 years, I'd like to be in a completely different setup than what I am right now, but working as much as I am in selling real estate. So I've started to envision that. And so that's what we're going to cover, what you have to do so that you can successfully exit the business and have either residual income or maybe sell your business, right? Exactly. Be a book of business. And it really does start with beginning with the end in mind, and now we come back and start moving forward because we know what the end goal is you must build a valuable asset. Our entire coaching is based on the premise of business systems and running your business like a true business. Everything we do at WBNL Coaching goes back to that. Have you made duplicatable systems? And that's really important. And it goes back to the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. One of the key books I recommend for small business owners is that. And in some of the key premises in that book is create your systems and your operations manual like you were franchising your business. Mm-hmm. And if you put it into that analogy, then you get, if I was going to go buy a McDonald's or a Subway or a whatever, anything that's franchised, there's a process. Or actually, if I wanted to get a franchise for a real estate company, there's literally a process. There's procedures, there's things in place, there's operations. They've already worked through all the details. And that's what you've got to do for your individual independent brokerage or team, or even if you're a solo agent. So what makes a real estate business an asset? Well, it starts with a couple of these key systems. So let's talk about it. Operations and procedures manual, I just mentioned it. Do you have systematic processes so that if you stepped away, whoever purchased your business or replaced you could step in and keep it running? And this is really important, Matt. I think one of the key things, if you were to hire a consultant or anyone, there's a couple key players out there that help people with this, that work with brokers and so forth to evaluate their companies and come up with it. And these are some of the key things that they use. Right. But here's the deal. Can your company or your business, your team run without you? That is probably the key question. If you went away tomorrow, would there still be business? And the only way the answer to that is yes, is if you do have systematic procedures. Your systems and your brokerage systems are broken down and they're easy for somebody to step in. If you passed away tomorrow, could your company still run? You know, that's another way to look at it. And if you have all of that in place and you stepped away, not even just for a vacation or a permanent vacation, or you're just retiring, whatever the case may be, think of it like that. And that's where you may need to get some coaching and consulting and step back and put those systems in place. Now, the reality of a real estate business, particularly residential, property management, same thing, you know, that there's a whole nother level of things that it's the accounts in your property management business that are the valuable asset, and the systems around it and how well your customer service is. So, but do you have some kind of client relationship management? What kind of software are you using where you have gathered all the information and you have a book of business and it's not on a spreadsheet? It's more detailed than that. And a lot of times, Matt, I like to use this analogy of, if you think about social media, it's all started with Facebook, in my opinion. Way back when, you know, ultimately, Facebook is not what they want us to think that it is.
Right.
About let's connect with people. It's about gathering your data, your private data, and your interest and the way you purchase things, because that's valuable to advertisers and to other people that want that information to influence you. That's what it really has become. All right, all the social media platforms. So I'm saying that because in a way, just having name, rank, and serial number, or name, phone number, contact information is not valuable as if over 20 years I can give you, Matt has had this many transactions with me. These are his favorite places to go eat.
Right.
Here's all his kids' names and his pets' names, when his anniversary is with his wife, to his birthday of his kids and his animals even. If you have all that information in your CRM, that's valuable. Okay. So are you collecting that now? Or, are you really, just the basics? Do you have people's birthdays and milestone events and names of their family members and key dates and such? I don't know. Then obviously it's your transaction history. If you're trying to sell your company or your team, they're going to, like, if you went to buy any business, you'd say, let me see your books. Let me look at how much business you've done. And generally I would tell you 5 years. Do you have a 5-year history of showing, because the market's changed too. How did you adjust to the markets going up or down? Do you have consistent business year over year, or is it a roller coaster? Mm-hmm. You got to be able to show the profit and loss. And so it's not just how many closings, frankly, it's what's your profit?
Yeah.
What's your expenses? What's
Absolutely.
Your overhead? Are you a good business person? And then what's your overall branding strategy? And the one thing about the branding strategy, and this is one of the things when I start coaching with someone who wants to build a team or even consider building a brokerage, do you want to name it your name? Now, if it's your team, here's the interesting thing. In a lot of states, not all of them, but in a lot of states, if you want to brand your team, your name has to be in it. Not so if you're a brokerage. It's one of the benefits of owning a brokerage, actually. It doesn't have to be Emerson and O'Brien Realty Associates. It can be whatever, best damn real estate company in town. Probably a bad name for a company, but you get what I mean. It could be, I always thought I would have Shamrock Real Estate as a name, right? Use the whole Irish four-leaf clover and something like that. But anyway, your branding strategy, what is it, and does it go away? And then there are instances where if you've been in business so long and your name equals market share, then you could keep your name ultimately in the long run if you're thinking about this now, if that's your game plan, because you can train a replacement and you can let everyone know that you're retiring or you're taking a different position in your firm. Okay. Right. So Those are all the key things. There's a lot more, but those are the key top line items.
But I think what's so interesting about this, Jan, is we talk about these items is when you're setting up your business, in the first place. And I think a lot of people will say, okay, yeah, let's get these things into place, right? And even if you do get some of these into place, you kind of slack off on that. If you're opening your own company or you're building out a more of a mega team or anything, it's not a matter of putting the things into place in the beginning. It's making sure you're consistently updating and working on those things throughout your entire career. And when you get to this point when you're getting ready to get out, you already have all the data. All the hard work the heavy lifting has already been done. You've done it all the way along the way. So, it's just so important to really focus on some of this back end stuff all the time from the beginning to the end.
Now, and not procrastinate. And I want to say, do as I say, not as I do. Don't be Jan O'Brien waiting till scrambling to put personal financial retirement plans in place. It's, you really do need to think like that. So you're not just getting into if you're doing real estate as a career, then there's no time like the present. I'm not saying it's hopeless if you're trying to retire in 5 years. Absolutely not. You just have a lot of work to do if you've never actually put the core systems in place.
That's right.
Well, it's all good. If you can figure it out, you can get some help, you can hire a coach, you can make it happen. All right, so that's the valuable asset piece. And then is the basis to determine the value of your business. And I just hit on a bunch of it.
Yep.
The factors that impact your valuation are really truly going to be all about, can it survive without you? Have you put it in such a place that you can walk away and it still runs, or will it go to pieces because you're the center of the universe? Okay, so that speaks to your systems. They're duplicatable. Someone else can do them. You could pick up and open up another version of your company in another location, and that takes a lot of structure to do that. And then honestly, if you are a team, now I've been talking a little bit about you as an individual, and you're the main person producing, but if you're now a team or a broker and you have the assets are your agents, and this is always the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find when we get in a minute to talking about structuring deals, a lot of deals for buyouts and, just selling your deal will be about whether or not it's duplicatable without you, but it's also going to be, are the agents that are on your team or company going to stay?
I wish that, yep.
Right? Are they going to stay because you've just shown the production, you've gone through what your recruiting efforts are? I mean, when you think about it, you got to open up the books as a company and say, in the last 5 years, here is our agent growth. Here's our production per agent. Here's our profit and loss. Here's how we've done through the ups and downs of the last 5 years of our market. Here's the people and the retention and how long we keep people. What's our turnover? Do we hire 100 people a year and we lose 105?
Right.
That speaks to your retention and a lot of things. So your business, it's a deep dive into looking at all those factors for a person that might want to step in and take over. And now look, there's some value to anything that you have. It's going to be more valuable even if somebody were wanting to come in and let you retire. This is a strategy a lot of franchises will use, or a lot of other companies that are trying to basically build in their area, and they look for people who are retiring, and they want you to fold in and maybe bring your agents over for a little bit and help with the transition. And then you can maybe over a year or two slowly, back out. And now my point in that is your business is worth a whole bunch more if you've got everything we've been talking about, and you have productive agents and you can successfully transition them over to the new company that's basically you're merging with. It could be an acquisition. It could be a merger. It could be structured so many ways as opposed to you're retiring, or you're getting out of the business. Okay. So a lot of factors go into it. It kind of makes sense. However, it's easy to say, yeah, I get that what you're saying, Jan and Matt. I get that you're saying it's more valuable to have all these things, but I don't. Okay, well then this is where you have to sit down and realize, okay, what do I do now to start making sure my asset is valuable?
Because it's a whole lot more than your agents. Your agents clearly are an asset, but they are not the asset when you're selling your business, believe me, because all the things Jan just talked about, because you don't know how many of them are going to be leaving once you actually walk out that door, right? So having that whole snapshot into your retention and what you've done over with recruiting and keeping agents and, showing your growth is so valuable because a lot of people just think, hey, I've got 100 agents here. This is going to get me, millions of dollars. Not always the case. Obviously, they're the ones that do produce, though. So it's weird because they're part of the plan, but certainly not the whole ballgame.
Well, honestly, if it is a big group, the thing will be structured based on the people staying, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not the number that you have walking in.
Exactly. So if you have 100 people and only 10 move over, then you may have a structure. Well, we'll get to that in just a second. So so a couple of strategy options, in my opinion, they fall into two categories. You identify and train your replacement over time, or you sell your business team or company in some fashion, which will cover various ways that you can structure it, right? I mean, that's really it. Somebody buys your business, or you literally stay involved for a little bit longer and you train your replacement, and you maybe even stay involved. You're just not in charge anymore. Okay.
Yeah, don't you think that a lot of agents, especially team owners, right, or team leads, kind of use that strategy more than others because you want to be involved for probably a little bit and kind of segue out. I just think that's it. Sometimes. So
let's take the first one. So if you're going to, this one really makes sense for what I was talking about at the top of the show, which was. Yep. Are you the business? Are you a team and in your area and you're the well-known brand and you have a team of agents, but it could also be a brokerage. I mean, it doesn't have to be a team. Right. It literally is that you're the face of the business, meaning like it would hurt if you all of a sudden went away like tomorrow and things weren't run, even though you had business systems in place. This strategy really suits the person we've helped numerous people. I have as a broker, we've helped people as a WBNL coaching create this exit strategy and go through these different options. So in this one, the key is, and so what can happen here is you could have somebody that you've identified over time in your company or brokerage or company or team that really is the one you're nurturing to take over your business, right? They have the leadership skills. They think and act and have the same core values as you. And you literally start introducing them to your sphere. So if this option works when most of your business comes from your sphere of influence, okay? So if your company or team is doing 80% of its business because of repeat and referral business in your name and your good brand, then this is what you have to do. You identify someone and you slowly introduce them. So it could start out as, this is Matt, and Matt is now my manager in my office, okay? And he's going to be working with me because I'm over here running the brokerage, and so we're gonna team up. Then it could become more partners. Matt and I are partners, and so it goes like it was the O'Brien Real Estate Company. Then it becomes the O'Brien Emerson Company, and then ultimately it becomes the Emerson Real Estate Company over time. So you slowly kind of go through this and you introduce your team, and then and if I'm out the one producing, if I'm the team, if I'm a working broker or I own my own company and I'm like still out working all the time, I'm taking Matt out with me, meeting my clients. He's really becoming, the people get to know him. Over time, they start calling him, okay? That is the key to this process. Because if you just simply go, I'm out and here's Matt, and you never go through this process, people are like, who's Matt? Okay. That's right. Again, I keep coming back to, if your business is based on all referral and people in your sphere and so on, this is super important. So the concept,
if you built your whole business on relationships, you can't just, it's like, oh, hey, here's a new guy. Bye-bye. That's
exactly. And then you need to decide how long do you want to stay. So I have seen a lot of real estate agents do this where they walk through that exact process. It's their name, then it's the two of them together partnership, and then it becomes the other partner. But they still stay in the team in a way that they just sort of semi-retire. They start traveling. Their license is still active because occasionally they want to do some business, but it's almost like the roles reverse, right, and you become a team member.
Yep.
Or just a partner, or you become the person who's a bit of a consultant. Or you could just be like, I'm out over the next 2 years. I'm going to slowly transition out and I'm done. But a lot of people don't want to let their license go inactive for the very reason of occasionally they could go help a family member or a good friend. And so you'll figure that out, right? But the point is you're slowly releasing the reins and control, which is so hard for type A, high D personalities, right? But that's all part of your structure is you're figuring it out. It's interesting when I think of a few brokers and stuff that we've helped, and they're the driver, a particular broker I'm thinking about, North Carolina. She's the driver of the whole business, and she's the brains behind it all. And she desperately wants to just back off and have other people step up. And so we work with her on some of those things. And ultimately, she might have decided just to go ahead and she played with all these different ways of, I'll train my replacement and I'll stay behind the scenes too. Can I just sell my business to a franchise? And I think that might've been the way that she led.
That's the direction she was going. Yeah.
Right. But sometimes you have to kind of explore all the options and see. So this one is great for a smaller brokerage, I'm thinking, or a team that you just want to step back now, or you want to ultimately start slowing down, because after a while you're like, I'm really can't keep on showing property and listing property, but and then you can work out residual income. It can be over time. There's a lot of different ways. It's just sit down and get creative on what does this look like. So it starts with Matt's on a split with me to we're 50-50 partners. We're sharing expenses. We're sharing revenue. To over time, he takes more, I take less, where maybe over a time period of X number of years, I get 25% of all the closings, or, maybe it's my business. I get a little bit more because it's my book of business that you've taken over. And then I get, so there's just a million different ways to structure this, right? Based on how much am I continuing to do in the next year, and then the second year, and then maybe in year 3, I'm just getting 10% for the next 5 years.
Right.
Whatever works. This is negotiations. You figure that part out. Okay.
Exactly.
And then the buyout models are straight up, can be a flat purchase price, right? Or it could be a price plus a residual income over time. There could be a structured payment plan, installment sale with a fixed price, and with a referral or residual base. Or it could just be residual or slash referral income right there, a small amount down, and then for the next number of years it is. But I will tell you that if someone's going to come in and buy out the business, you're probably going to get more if you can be involved for the first year. Generally, a lot of people that are going to take over don't want you around for at least they want you there for a year or less. If they feel strong enough, like they can take over, they might want you out right away. But if there needs to be a change over time to keep the agents that are coming with, for people to get to know, but then sometimes people want to come in and go, your systems are great, but I'm going to change them, right?
Yeah.
And however, your buyout amount, your deal is going to be predicated on does the model work, and like I'm thinking about Rich, our guy, our good friend Rich. He literally did have the perfect kind of mega team that had a duplicatable model. He didn't have to be the center of it because he wasn't the producer. Now it turns out over time and knowing him that his leadership is what kept things going, meaning he knew when he needed to bring new people in. He never, you know what I mean? He needed to find somebody who could take over and run the model. But the model was new agents. You go into school, you recruit new agents, you churn through them. You have a great training program. You have managers who help them. And it's a model of numbers, right? So it's duplicatable, and he's got a track record of money that he's earned and how many transactions that they do and how many agents it takes to keep it going.
Right.
But it works. That model is a great example of, it's not like we can all sit down and go, hey, go into the schools and recruit people and then set up a training system. That is freaking tons of work.
Yeah.
And you just can't maybe get into a school. Like he had the relationships. So, and he had the model, and it was profitable. So he could structure a deal that would allow him to sell his business, and he did. Okay. But not everybody's going to have that. And his business was more valuable because he had duplicatable systems.
That's exactly.
And he had a model that had a track record of working, mainly recruiting and producing. Okay.
Exactly.
People. So there's a lot of ways to structure that. And I would just say that it's all about negotiating, and it has to be in writing. And you definitely need to probably consult legal, get an attorney, and really help structure that out for you and cover all the options, because the many agreements I've seen, a lot of them are predicated on, we're going to give you this much this year, and as long as the numbers are within this amount and the retention is in this amount, then you get the next installment, or You know what I mean? There's a lot of ways. It's not just going to be like, hey, your business is worth 2 times. So you made 500 grand last year. We're going to use a 2.5 factor, which I see a lot, somewhere between 2 and 3%. So here's $1.5 million. We'll call it a day. I just don't feel like you're going to see that unless you have such an amazing system and track record for years that somebody's going to evaluate that. But I feel like you would say, here's 300 grand. Okay. And then we're going to structure this over the next 3 to 4 years based on hitting these numbers, right?
Yeah, and a lot of this goes back to what we were talking about with the agents, because that asset is tenuous, right? You don't really know, that's why you're not going to turn around and say, hey, here's, like you said, here's a 1.5 mil, and then, your assets.
Yeah, there's no doubt that you could get an expert to come out and look at everything and say, yeah, we can use a two factor, or a 2.5 or a 3 factor, meaning the last couple of years, what's been your income, and then we can double that or get 2.5 times that as your worth, your valuation, maybe more, but based on, again, all the things that we just talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's you and a list of 500 names on a sheet of paper, and you don't got anything else, and it's basically they just call me and I do these couple things, that's not really worth much. That's what people have done for ages, Matt. It's like, hey, Matt, I'm going to get out of the business. I kind of sucked. I mean, I was really great, and I had a successful business, but I really didn't ever have systems in place. I always meant to. But here's my database. I get 50 deals a year out of it. How about you take it over and you pay me a 25% referral fee on everything that you close?
Right.
And that's what people do, right? They're like, here's, if you do it, and now you have a nightmare of tracking. Do you know if it really closed? Have they done any transactions? You'd have to have all these measurements in place to know that all works. Okay, so. And then again, if you didn't set it up and nobody knows Matt from my database, they're just going to go find someone else, unless Matt really is good at coming in there and saying, yeah, I work for Jan. But then even with that, you can introduce the person taking over and hope that people stay retained. But you got to people have to know that Matt is they're going to know, like, and trust him, right? So there you go.
So
that's it. That's it. Exit strategy. It's good for everybody. Whoever's listening, business owners, what's your exit strategy? And if you don't have one, start working on it.
Right. Exactly. So you don't have to start with the end in mind, but at sometime you've got to be thinking about have the end in mind, right? Before the end, because it's never too late, but the more you can collect and plan along the way, the better off you're going to be. So that's fantastic. Well, that wraps our series on opening your own brokerage. Like I said, all of the show notes are over at WBNLpodcast.com. This was episode 248, and links to all of the episodes within each of the episodes in this series. So go check all that out. Next week, we are going to jump into a program we've been talking about for a little while. We haven't come up with the actual name yet of this, but basically, we're going to be going through 12 components that help you build a successful real estate business. And Jan's going to give great tips that will, you'll be able to take and then insert right into your business today, right? To help you stronger.
We'll give you the tools and the additional training and support that's available so that you can actually implement those 12 components, those 12 key, whatever they are, fundamentals for your business.
Yeah, we'll find the word between now and next week.
You'll know what it is when you listen.
Exactly. And Jan O'Brien, I'm looking forward to seeing you in a few days. Jan's coming out to California. We're going to have a little playtime, so it's going to be going to be fun. Even though, well, actually, I was going to say it's going to be so hot here, but it's going to be probably about 20 degrees less than what you're used to right now.
I don't want to talk about it. They're talking about 115, 117 on Sunday. Excessive heat warnings here in the Las Vegas Valley. Now, luckily, you don't stand outside in the 115 degree heat. But I was out working yesterday. It was 105. And honestly, here's the deal. It's going to be 107 today. You basically, it's so amazing. You can be out. We were out looking at properties. As soon as you get in shade, it's like you could stay out there for an hour or two because it's not humid here. I mean, the humidity is like, the last time I looked, like, this is the difference of why I don't like out on the East Coast. Humidity today is 10%. It's 10%. Yeah. But if I go look at what the humidity is, what do you want to guess the humidity is in Tampa? 90 degrees right now in Tampa as we record in the morning on a
Well, I
Friday.
don't know, but the field like temperature is probably
Yes, it's 10% in Vegas. What's the humidity at 92 degrees in Tampa right now?
43.
60%.
I was going to say 60. That's funny.
It's right around 60% the last week or so, and I'm like, I don't want that.
It makes you kind of sweat just thinking about it.
Yeah, honestly. So there's a difference, and so here's the deal: even out working in real estate in 105-degree heat, you're in and out of air conditioning all the time. So you just play we were out filming in that yesterday.
Yeah.
We just would get it. I would go stand in the shade for a second. We jump out, take the shot, then we jump into a new home track. It's all, you don't stand outside in the middle of the heat. The hottest part of the day is like 2 to 5, and stand outside in the sun. You don't do that. You drink plenty of water, and so it's all good.
Another reason to move to Vegas and contact Jan. She can help you get situated there. So there you are.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. What was that?
I said I'll take this dry heat all day.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everyone. Like I said, show notes, WBNLpodcast.com. This was episode 248. Everyone, just get out there, get up, get out, live the life you dreamed, and be forever wandering, but not lost.
But wear sunscreen.
Yeah, but wear a high SPF.